to a early edition of Block Party. I'm your host, Mike. Well, thanks for watching. If you're enjoying, hit that subscribe button, rate and review us on our Prostitute Perform channel on YouTube. Email Michael68 on Twitter, Prostitute Perform on Instagram. Our show is always sponsored by BetOnline. BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting, from the earliest odds to in-game live betting. BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. The largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, college basketball, NHL to UFC. We've got it all. So head to BetOnline today. Don't forget to use the promo code BELIEVE. That's BLEAV for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here. So the Packers and the Lions both played, obviously, on Thanksgiving. The Packers had, in my opinion, a much better day than Detroit. Detroit kind of escaped because Eberflus cost himself his job finally with some clock mismanaged at the end of the Caleb Williams drive. Well, it was actually a really good game. It kind of exposed some things with Detroit. Having said that, Thursday games are a little bit different. They actually get a full week, even though they're playing back-to-back Thursday games here. Detroit's favored by 3. Detroit is averaging almost 32 points per game. That is bonkers. That is college football numbers. 32 points per game. I think it's 31.7 or 31.9, something like that. But it's absolutely bonkers. So they're favored by 3 at home. You know, this is one of those. I know the other side of this. This is one of those games that Detroit has circled on their calendar every single year. I know that, DC up there probably has every game circled on his calendar, but I know that this game means a lot to that team. And listen, getting to 11-1 is not easy. And I think for me, the Detroit Lions look like the class of the league right now. They can win big. We saw a couple of weeks ago, I think they won like 56-10. I mean, something ridiculous, 56-3, 56-10. I can't even recall. They can win ugly as they did last week. They have, again, you earn the right with years and really decades of being substandard. You earn the right to have like a boatload of talent, all over the board, both sides of the football. What's most surprising to me about this team right now is that, in my opinion, they are getting better defensively over the course of this season. I don't know if the numbers back that up, but to my eyes, they're getting better defensively despite losing Aiden Hutchinson. And I think part of that is when you lose a guy like a player like Aiden Hutchinson, some of these other guys start playing a little bit better. You rally the troops a little bit more. Maybe the play calling changes it's a little more aggressive. Maybe your linebackers certainly play downhill regardless. They brought in Zadarius Smith. We'll bring that up in a sec. But their secondary has always been I think a source of strength for them. They are giving up. I think they're second in the league. They're giving up under 17 points per game. And I always think about it like football's really simple to me, and times do change. But I'll think about it this way. When I was with the Carolina Panthers, John Fox was our head coach, and he's a defensive guy. He won the Super Bowl as a DC with the Giants, and he did not particularly care for offense. I think that's probably the easiest way to put it. He did not particularly care for offense in that it was going to be as conservative as possible. And his deal was like, look, if you score 19 points a game, you're going to win every game with my defense. Like, that's how much kind of faith he had in it. So if your defense is only giving up 17 a game, you're in good shape. Like, life is going to be good. And part of that is, the rushing defense, 93 yards a game. So again, like, they're doing the things that matter. So part of that, the second in the league and the 93 yards a game, part of that is that the priority in Detroit, and you can tell on both sides of the football, is establishing a running game. They on the offense, they run the ball more than they pass the ball. And on defense, if you just watch their style of play, they clearly prioritize stopping the run. So they have a commitment to rushing defense. But then the other part of that also is just what we talked about last time we watched these guys with Peyton Manning and the Colts, is that when your team is scoring 32 points per game, the game plan for the offense has to change a little bit. Some teams are going to come in and say, listen, we have to hold the football. We have to keep it away from this explosive offense. But ultimately, if you don't score a ton of points against these guys, if you don't score at least in the 20s, you really have no chance of beating them. So the Lions love to play man on D. They're aggressive at the linebacker level. I think Jack Campbell, this is another one of those. They have earned the right to have a lot of talent. They picked up Jack Campbell. I think they picked him up first round out of Iowa 2 years ago, and everyone's going, "Oh, you don't pick linebackers up first round. These things you just don't do here." And he's a physical presence. And they've got some injuries over there. Malcolm Rodriguez, I think, just went out, 44, who's kind of one of the fan favorites since that Hard Knock show was in. But it'll be interesting to see how they play at the second level. But they do play man defense. They are aggressive. Their linebackers play run. They'll run a lot of stunts. They'll run a lot of pressure, right? And Aaron Glenn as a DC and a play caller is obviously a former player, has a lot of experience, can really communicate well with these guys. Their whole staff can. I mean, for me, this is the best staff in the league, just because there's so many ex-players on their staff, because they can communicate at a level of detail that's maybe missing from some other groups. And you're starting to see that as these guys find their voice and they find their way and they get more experience as coaches and not just as former players. You see the improvement in this team. And that's where, like, for me, Aaron Glenn, and obviously the rest of that coaching staff, you got to give them credit, because I think week to week they just continue to get better. And then the other thing is always, like, you're watching the tape, and against last week against Pittsburgh. Who the hell's 99? He's like spin moves, getting sacks on guys. God damn it! It's Za'Darius, of course, right? Because life's not fair, and I think Za'Darius certainly has a track record of when he first joins a new team. He has a big impact right away. And I think, he's doing that with Detroit right now. And now they have DJ Reader he's up or down for this game. If he's healthy, and you think about Ali McNeil, you think about Z, you think about all the pressure that they bring, you think the fact that Brian Branch is spending half the time in the box, you think that Kirby, who I think Tucker Kraft has a vendetta against, or you got people talking. Those guys play close to the line of scrimmage. So you think about all the things they do at the line of scrimmage to win that battle, understanding how important the trenches are, understanding that defensive line goes up against the best, arguably the best offensive line in football every single day in practice, at least in training camp. For me, with those three guys, even without Aiden Hutchinson, this is now a front that can really take away some options. You always have to like their secondary. But I will stress this, because we're going to watch tape right now. There are options and opportunities in the secondary if you can hold off the pass rush, if you can have time, because they play so much. They pride themselves in their ability to play so much man. For me, you just don't see as much man, in most teams as you see here. All right, here we go. I got this back ass words. Hold on one second. Here we are. All right, here we go. Lions D. 4-man pass rush. You're going to see that a lot. The thing is, you have options. They do a double move up top. He just does a little nod, keeps running. He's got that safety beat. That's a touchdown. They run. This isn't quite like a dagger principle, but somewhat to it. When they run it up and they run a deep in, and they're playing off at the safety position. They're really man matching this. They're going man on the outside, and then they're matching to the second receiver on the inside on both these safeties. So they've got. I mean, Caleb Williams has 2 touchdowns here, depending on where he wants to throw the football. I think he decides to throw it. The 13, always a good idea. Touchdown. So the plays are there to be made. They will play a 4- and a 5-man front, just walking the linebacker down the line of scrimmage. This is a big risk-reward thing. So, again, they're playing a ton of man coverage. A lot of people close to the line of scrimmage, they like to get up in their face. They've got that single safety deep. And, look, when you've got 5 across right here and empty, and you've got 5 guys in man, only one guy has to get beat. This is just kind of like the offensive line thing. Only one guy's got to get beat. You look like, crap the entire day. Well, right here, Brian Branch gets beat by DJ Moore on a inside move with a fade for a touchdown. And it's like, there's really no defense stat against man coverage unless you actually are just gloving the guy up. So they ask a lot out of these guys, and so they're going to give up some stuff, especially when they're down. They're throwing the football all the time. It's just kind of one of the downside of that, I suppose, being a good football team offensively. So we go man here. you see the safeties. We got a corner in the back. Excuse me. We got a receiver in the backfield. So we got a corner in 21. And I think we got Branch on the tight end. They're going to motion, or they're going to send. They're going to send 4 across, because that's DeAndre Swift. Talking about the Bears now, and the Lions. I don't know if they're green dogging this or they're just running a cross dog, but they bring both linebackers here. It looks like they're cross dogging, and they don't pick this up. And this is where for me, because you're in man, you got a guy in the backfield, so we're trying to find those guys getting out of there, and they see that drop on the backside by the defensive end, and the tackle stays with, and he ends up missing this tackle. But these are where the opportunities are. The screen game, the quick game on some of those angle routes, and then some of the deep stuff. You really look for these plays, and of course, anything crossing the football, crossing across the football, because those crossers usually kill man coverage. But you look for these plays, and where are the opportunities? Now, if they bring pressure and you get it, and you hit this like the Bears did, of course, you miss a tackle there. These are huge plays in football games, and they're available a lot because the Lions are not afraid to bring pressure while chasing man. A lot of guys zone blitz. These guys will man blitz. They're not afraid to do it. So just, this is a tough ask. You see the single high up top. You got a 3-by-1, and they're running crossers, and all they're just trying to do is get this guy. They don't even have to pick. Now the Bears ended up picking this guy. Komet picked him, I think, late in the game for a big play, take away a big play. But there are just plays to be made there all day if you're running across the football field. That is a really tough ask. Usually the corner's playing a little bit of outside leverage, so they've always got, they're a half step behind. These are things that are going to be available. Again, I think what the Lions, generally speaking, do pretty well is they rally to the football, they tackle, and they're basing themselves on that premise that they can get that stop that they need over the course of an 80-yard drive. You see they got the 5-man. I really think one of the keys to the game is that they got the 5-man front here. I think one of the keys to the game is just being able to win on the edges. So I think Aleem McNeil is going to always give you problems. DJ Reed, if he's healthy, is going to give you problems. Certainly, we know that the linebackers are going to always play towards the line of scrimmage. These guys play run first. I can't emphasize that enough. As much as any team in the league, these guys are going to put their nose in the gaps if they think it's a run. And so what that means is you're going to get a lot of those bounces to the outside if the tight ends and the F-backs can hold up. And that's really one of the keys to the game is if you go into 12, 21 personnel, 13 personnel, can you hold up on the edges? If the answer is yes, then you're going to have some success. If the answer is no, then they get penetration into the backfield, aren't able to aren't make them jump cut in the backfield and do some things that slow the play down. When the Bears had success doing it, fantastic. When they didn't, really tough to move the football. These guys, again, you got 3 guys in the box. Safeties coming down. Brian Branch. Now he's supposed to get cracked by DJ Moore on the backside, but these guys just force the issue. They're downhill. Now, listen, if I was going to, it's easy to look in retrospect. If you're running this play in Chicago, you're watching the film next day. This play was doomed, destined to fail from the jump. They weren't gonna make this happen just because they had an extra man in the box. But you see the way Jack Campbell plays this. This is a very difficult block for the tight end, getting inside out. And they're just always forcing the issue. So how can we defeat that? Well, you've got your double team, you got your gap schemes, you got your pin and pulls, you got your outside tosses, right? Things that can adjust to linebackers through, can adjust to movement, allows you to kind of cut the defense somewhere. Now, we did that a lot backside last week by going into motion and then, putting Tucker Kraft or somebody back split flowing against the grain and deciding maybe we're split flowing against the D tackle or the D end, but we're running that as a lead, but keeping that extra man always, or being able to cut that defense at the backside. So you either keep the man, you keep a plus man play side, or you cut the defense on the backside. Doing a lot of Michael Jackson dancing there for what ends up happening here. I think for me, this is a make your layup moment, right? So you have 43 up on the line of scrimmage. You see the defensive end against the left tackle is showing that he's going to spike inside. This is an easy read. I think it's an easy read for both players. And Cole Kmet just ends up making a bad play here, taking bad footwork. Even though 43 misses the tackle, the play is over because he has to jump cut in the backfield. So just make your layups. So you do this whirly bird motion. They're picking that up, obviously, from everybody else. I feel bad for Thomas Brown. Thomas Brown for the Chicago Bears. This is a side note, man. It's like we talked about Thomas Brown last week when we were playing the Bears. And, he's got a really tough deal. I think that was the interim head coach. It's like 2 weeks ago. He hadn't talked. Like they were saying, like, oh, I haven't even really talked to Caleb Winston. They haven't really talked to the guy. He's the passing coordinator. And man, 2 weeks later, he's the head coach of the football team. So this is one thing you can't do. Like, have some pocket presence. Like, you got time to throw this football, man. Don't blow it. Jordan Love has to get rid of the football on time, right? There are the problem with the Lions is that you might run some deeper routes, especially those deep ends or those crossers, because you know they're going to get open because it's man coverage. But these guys do a good job of pushing the pocket. They have two good defensive tackles now, especially if DJ Reader's healthy and 99 being out there, as we know, a motivated Zadarius Smith is a very good football player. So he ends up getting a sack here, which, like Caleb Williams gets a ton of sacks. It's not a big, this isn't national news here. But it fooled me once, man. They do this little, again, turnaround. This is like a play action deal. I don't know if they're doing this because they think it makes the read easier for Caleb. I don't know. Obviously, it takes some discipline on the defensive side to understand where you're going to line up a DJ Moore's counterpart on defense. But I put this on there because look at, again, this is where I go. Is that Zadarius? Look at the left tackle here. I got to put that back far enough. I'm having a little skipping screen here, but you got to see this. I mean, this guy absolutely gets. This is a tough sport. I mean, he just absolutely dump truck. I mean, Z's out there to play. He's not a contender. He knows it. He's going to be motivated. Spin move here. Ends up getting in. And this is what you always like to see if you're a player, a coach, member of the organization. Like, just you got to match the intensity of the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions play. If you said one thing about them, they just play hard as hell. I mean, they really love playing football for Dan Campbell and the staff. They love their city. They have a great relationship with the community, and you just see the pride. It almost feels like to me like a high school football team in the sense that this is the way that the relationship with the community, the way they've embraced, but also just the selflessness that these guys play with. They are for as many stars they have in the team, a very selfless group. It starts with guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, obviously, and some of the success these guys have had individually helps to build that. But I mean, defensively, honestly, they're just a problem. Offensively, I mean, look, these guys are loaded. Goff's in the MVP race. I got these stats on Goff. Let's see, number 1 in completion percentage, number 1 in yards per pass. He's number 5 in passing yards per game, despite the Detroit Lions throw the ball like 49%. They throw the ball less than they run the ball. I think they're one of the 2 teams in the league that do that. And then you talk about all the weapons they have. You go to the receiver position, right? Allen Robinson, Jameis Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tim Patrick starting for him then. Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. I mean, they just got dudes the skill positions are as good as you're going to find. And then they have, Taylor Decker's out, and he's a good player. They have arguably the best offensive line in football. Certainly a very, very well-coached offensive line. And I think that the play caller, Ben Johnson, he's as creative as they come right now. And what you see maybe from Detroit, and a lot of this is like quality of execution based on the talent on the team. But what you see from Detroit offensively is I think they're doing as good a job as anybody in the National Football League at tendency breaking and then setting up plays that you're already winning pre-snap. So breaking tendency will show one on tape, and then doing enough things that are you're in a pre-snap situation, whether it's from a leverage standpoint, whether it's from a number standpoint, whether it's from a communication standpoint on defense, you're already winning the rep. You just don't have to not screw it up. And because of that, The Lions do nearly everything well on offense. Like they're top 10 in every category. The only thing they really don't do well is Jared Goff doesn't run when he gets flushed out of the pocket. He's just not a very good runner. And he doesn't throw the ball very well and he runs to his left. So a great rush plan would be really important for this team. But really, to beat this offense, you have to be able to take calculated risks and hope that the play caller or the quarterback of the line of scrimmage doesn't guess right or doesn't identify what you're doing. And so they watched this tape last week with the Bears, and a lot of the stuff that they're doing is they're trying to do some motioning, they're trying to move around a little bit because they're just trying to figure out I don't want Penei Sewell to get that double team going with his guard and move that guy 7 yards downfield like he was on the regular last year. I need to be able to beat our tight ends. The tight ends are pretty good. Sam Laporta was coming out was the best blocking tight end in the draft for his group. I mean, I'm talking about group of the high level guys. I didn't scout everybody, who was maybe just a 290-pound tight end. So you have to be able to stunt. You have to be able to bring pressure off the edge. You have to be able to stymie these guys at the line of scrimmage. A lot of times they're going to have built-in answers for like a second, like a scat protection rusher that involve leaking the ball to the running back. So like saying, how do we account for that? How do we make ourselves right? There's so many questions you have to answer with this team. But let's just start off with this. And they got 5 dudes that can just run like the wind all over the ball. So I think this is Williams. I think James Williamson. They're just so they're going to do a 3-by-1, and this is what they start doing. So this looks like crossers, right? Amon St. Brown. They're just going to run crossers. They go a bunch. Everybody on the planet has seen this before. And what he does right here, it is break tendency. He just goes back around, and then there's nobody there. Why? Because the NFL defenses don't even consider that to be an option. Now, this is what I love about what Hank Fraley, the offensive line coach, Ben, whoever's kind of making these decisions, I think is so smart, right? This is what we used to do a lot back in Green Bay. You got to set to win, and you know that the defense is basing wherever their alignment is based on you. So if Penei Sewell lines up another foot outside, that defensive end is going to line up another, in real time, he's going to line up in the same distance he is now. So it's going to be another foot wider. So what does that mean? So they're going backside here. And you should know they're going backside just by their splits. But the defensive tackle is the tough block here. So what the right guard takes a small split so they can get to that defensive tackle. The distance between that defensive tackle and that defensive end is going to dictate how big the gap is on the backside because Penei Sewell is going to rise to the linebacker. So the wider the Penei Sewell split is, and they do this like very intentionally. Some teams don't do this intentionally. They do this very intentionally. This is part of their game that goes unnoticed, but I think is one of the more critical pieces to their execution. That defensive end has been extended by, let's say, just a foot and a half compared to the rest of the splits of the offensive line. And what does that do? Because remember, they got one of the faster running backs in the league. Because of that little detail, he's gone. I mean, the defensive end never really has a chance. So they go motion to 3-by-1, under center play action, one of their favorite things. They clear everybody out. They've got an athletic offensive line. Because of the speed, the motion, everything that happens, the linebacker just drops, right? And that's exactly what he's supposed to do. But now you leak out, I think this is Montgomery, into the screen game, and it's literally 3-on-1. So they get all 3 guys out somehow. Montgomery gets, 15 yards before anybody touches him. This looks like split. So they bring their F. Is that Laporta maybe? But they look at like they're an I. They go in motion. It looks like split flow. You got the backers running hard. We're going to cut the defense. And then Laporta bypasses the defensive end. They run the around. So they just basically book one guy, get an extra man out on the flat defender, and now he's 1-on-1, and then athleticism. Whoops. 31 didn't even know what to say right there. He didn't even. There's no like palms up. There's no nothing. He's just like He was a high jumper in high school. What do you want me to do? Creating leverage. How do you find success against these guys? So this is one of the ways. You know that the receivers like to add in. They do a lot of motion in, and then they'll try to add into the game in the run game, so they'll help the backside tight end here or something like that. So I think Laporte is on the left, 87. So he's going to flash. They're going to pull the guard, and he's going to flash that linebacker at the second level, and then he's actually going to go out and block somebody else. They're actually just booking one guy. Now the left tackle, who's the backup, has to rise up and get to the middle linebacker. That's a tough angle, and every team in the league right now, and I don't know why this is happening, but every team in the league is telling that tackle to secure the 2-eye regardless and not really worry about the linebacker. And so if you're on that 2-eye side, that linebacker needs to cheat over a little bit and create this leverage problem, because if the tackle has to go down and touch that guy, there's no way he's getting up to linebacker level. These become kind of easier plays to make. We got 12 personnel, fullback, tight end fullback in the backfield, and they just run a stunt. And so they're going to run this guy back, talking about fullback backside, but they're bringing the stunt. They're crashing the end. They're bringing the safety off the edge. Linebacker's going to fold over, and they're running that B block. Peninsula tries to get back and help the end, but he is able to get over the top, end up making the play in the hole. Now, there's risks involved, and this is a calculated thing. If you're going to do this, they're just going to run outside zone to that side. They're going to eat you up, or they're going to run something where they cut the defense with some sort of crack block. And, one of these guys, especially Gibbs, man, if he gets a seam, he's out the gate, right? He can run for 80, no problem. Or you just hope they do some stuff like this where, Peninsula. This is actually phenomenal that they even do this. I mean, they must be having so much fun. I think this is oh man, who's this linebacker? He was a rookie last year. He's a good player. I forgot his name now for the Bears. It's like the one thing you're thinking, like, man, do not let this guy mush face you. Just like Derrick Henry stiff arm. Like, just get him. I mean, take a shot at his knee right there or something, right? I know it's dirty, but Jesus age. Got to add in here. So the Bears are down. There's a receiver outside that's going to crack. Can't see him on the screen. And this is the game. Can I see this? Is there something in the stance that's been tipped? Like Sewell, for example, his stance changes when he's in pass pro. Do I see that? Know that this is a backside play and I can shoot that C? That the tight end's going to try to cut off that defensive end? How fast can I react? Am I right? Can I make myself right? Can we play fast? Can we identify and play fast? I think right here, you see this, and he just, maybe he IDs the first step of the tackle. Maybe he IDs the first step of that wide receiver, but man, he gets through and ends up making that play in the hole. It's a really, really tough thing. Now, they run the micro cross. So they've got two outside to the left. So they have two outside, guard tackle are manned up. But the defensive end's going to drop and take that swinger out away from the quarterback. 53 is going to come on the pressure. They're going to run the nose across the front, so they just don't have time to pick this up. They've ID'd this, so the guard's looking out to his right. So they got the free rusher, and you just see here when this stuff happens, like, he's not trying to get rid of the ball. This is a way to get to him. When you make him turn his shoulders to the sideline, going to his left, you got a real good chance of getting involved in the play. Yeah, but really, I mean, it's not easy to get to these guys. It's not easy to get to these guys. So what are the keys to the game? Well, I think offensively or defensively, I suppose. How do we get Goff off his spot? Can we take calculated risks in the run game to shut the run game down? And then can we get Goff off his spot? And are we comfortable being able to tackle their guys behind the first down markers? right? If they get the ball in the flat, if they get the ball, if Gibbs is the um, check down, are we comfortable with that? Can we stick to him enough to not get him a head full of speed before he runs a head full of steam before he runs at us? Offensively, they will pressure, they will run stunts, they show in their stances, they have tip tails and tendencies at the line of scrimmage. In the running, can we take the gimmies? Can we use our footwork to win? Because they will make it obvious at times. We can use double counts, we can slow our cadences down, and we can understand what's going to happen pre-snap. And then the biggest thing with this team for me is, can you match their intensity? It's going to be a home game on Thursday night in Detroit. They're 11-1. They're doing extremely well. They're scoring 32 points a game. They're favored to win. They want the North Division title. They want the bye week. They want they want this stuff. They think they've earned it. They think they deserve it, and they play with that kind of confidence. They play with that kind of aggressiveness. They have a staff full of former high level players. So can you match their intensity, play in and play out? Can you be present, play in and play out for everything that's going to be required to find success in a very hostile environment? Now, we play these guys tough. These division matchups are always difficult. I mean, they're always competitive. The Bears, the Bears are not a good football team. They almost beat Detroit last week. So this is not an insurmountable task. And the fact that it's only -3 kind of tells you that this is a very, very good football team. The Packers are looking like a very, very good football team right now. This is going to be a monster matchup. I'm excited about it. I'm sure everybody else is too. Thanks to our sponsors, Bet Online. If you have any questions, hit me up, Mike68 on Twitter, Process to Perform on Instagram. Just ask. I'll do my best to answer them before the game. If you're enjoying these shows, like, rate, and review us on our YouTube channel, Process to Perform. Otherwise, hit us up on the Believe Network. Guys, always fun doing shows. I hope you have an enjoyable game. I hope you have an enjoyable weekend. Until next time. Thanks.